My best friend said, "It's not copying, it's admiration," after taking my job, my boyfriend, and even my birthday party theme. So I let her keep pretending until I exposed her lie in front of everyone she tried to impress. I didn't notice the first time she copied me. That's the part that really messes with my head now. Back then, I just thought, huh, what a funny coincidence. You don't assume your best friend of 16 years is shadowing your life like some kind of identity leech. You assume she's just inspired. That's what she always said anyway. It's not copying, it's admiration, she'd laugh, flipping her over-bleached hair like we were in a sitcom. God, how many times did I let that slide? Her name's Marissa, 30 female. We met in the back row of a high school chemistry class when she made a joke about how our teacher looked like a budget Tom Hanks. I liked her instantly. She had this wild, electric energy that made people orbit around her. I was quieter, more grounded. Where I was notebooks and plans, she was eyeliner and impulse. We balanced each other, or I thought we did. She was there when I got into my first choice college. She cried harder than I did. She helped me move into my dorm, brought snacks for my roommate, made a playlist for the road, and when she dropped out of community college 6 months later, I was the one who said, "You're still amazing. School's not everything." I meant it. When I landed my dream job at a boutique marketing firm in Seattle, she called me screaming with excitement. "We're both going to be in the city. Guess who just got hired at a PR company 5 blocks from you?" That was the first time my stomach twisted, but I smiled and said, "No way, that's awesome." The second time she copied me, it was my boyfriend, Jeremy, 32 male, sweet, quiet, had a thing for indie films and sour beers. We met at a networking mixer, and it was slow, steady, different from the whirlwind flings I was used to. When I introduced him to Marissa, I saw it, the flash in her eyes, that calculating flicker like she was deciding whether he'd fit. "I love his vibe," she said later, which should have been the red flag. Not, "I'm happy for you," not, "He's good to you," just his vibe, like he was an accessory. Still, I told myself I was being paranoid. Then came the birthday party. It was my 30th. I went full-on nostalgia mode. Balloons, throwback music, a roller skating rink rental, custom cupcakes with lyrics from songs we used to scream in my old Corolla. I invited everyone from our college days, our jobs, even my childhood neighbor. Marissa showed up late, in the same dress I wore to my work party 2 months earlier, with a +1 who was Jeremy, except she swore it was platonic. He said he didn't want to make things awkward, and you were busy running around. I just grabbed him from the bar so he wasn't alone. She laughed while she said it, like this was all a harmless sitcom misunderstanding. That night, Jeremy told me we needed to talk. 3 weeks later, they were officially dating. I didn't even cry. I just lay in bed staring at the wall for 6 hours straight, replaying every moment that should have warned me. And then, 6 months later, Marissa got a job at my company. Same title, same department, same desk pod. "It's not copying," she whispered when I finally snapped. "It's admiration." I let her keep pretending, but I was already planning how to rip her mask off in front of every single person she was desperate to impress. "You want to steal my life? Fine. Let's see how you handle it when I set it on fire." She started calling me twin again, like we were 15, scribbling the same boys' names on our sneakers and swearing we'd get matching tattoos someday. Like the last year hadn't happened. Like she hadn't gutted my love life and career in one swipe and expected me to giggle about it over brunch. "Twinsies!" she'd chirp in the break room, standing way too close. "Seriously, we have the same brain." It made my skin crawl, but I smiled. I nodded. I played along, because I needed her to think I was done fighting. See, Marissa was the type who thrived on reactions. If you screamed, she cried. If you cried, she gaslit. She fed off chaos like it was oxygen, but only when she could control it. So I gave her nothing. She paraded Jeremy around the office Christmas party like a trophy she forged in a factory that belonged to me. I watched her laugh at the jokes I once told him, touch his shoulder the way I used to. They wore matching scarves for God's sake. Jeremy looked dazed most of the time, like a man trapped in an Instagram couple, but he smiled on cue. Maybe that was enough for her. She even copied my damn handwriting. That was the thing that finally made me feel sick. We were working on a pitch together because of course we were. Our manager thought it would be cute for the dynamic duo to collab. I opened her draft and saw the handwritten notes in the margins, except they weren't hers. They were mine. The same loopy E's, the same slanted A's, the same exclamation points with little dashes instead of dots. That weird thing I did where I crossed my T's low because I read somewhere that it meant I was detail-oriented. She'd studied me, copied me, practiced me, like a performance. "You okay?" she asked, catching my expression. I blinked at her, mouth dry. "Yeah, just tired." She smiled wide. "Same. You know, we work so hard and no one even notices how much we give." Oh, I noticed. She was using my skin like a costume, wearing my life like it was something she could just pick up, zip on, and strut around in. And people were falling for it. That was the worst part. Everyone loved her. They called her so bubbly. Such a light, a team player. She brought in cupcakes on Fridays. My old tradition. She signed her emails with the smiley face I'd stopped using because she stole it. She even pitched my idea from last quarter and got applause for it. Actual applause. And me? I was background noise now. The girl she mentored. The quiet one. People stopped asking how I was doing. They assumed if Marissa was doing well, I must be fine too. After all, weren't we the same? No, we weren't. I started keeping a list. Every lie, every theft, every moment she rewrote history to center herself. I filled pages, because someday I was going to give her what she always wanted. Center stage, lights bright, everyone watching. And then I'd let the truth speak for itself. Loud, undeniable, devastating. You don't get to erase me and walk away clean. Not anymore. Here's where things shifted from creepy to dangerous. Marissa didn't just want to be me anymore. She wanted to beat me at being me. She started twisting the narrative, quietly at first, like a suggestion, a whisper, a look. She's been really down lately, she told our manager during one of our Friday syncs, loud enough for me to hear from my cubicle. I'm honestly a little worried. She's not contributing the way she used to. Then came the fake concern. The random mid-meeting questions meant to trip me up. Hey, didn't you already submit that deliverable? Or was it late again? Oh, you missed the meeting yesterday. Weird. I thought I reminded you. I wasn't missing meetings. I wasn't behind. But I could feel the subtle shift happening. People started second-guessing me, looping her in on emails they normally sent just to me, asking her for my input on projects I was leading. And Jeremy? He didn't even pretend to care anymore. He stopped looking guilty when she clung to his arm in front of me, stopped texting to check in like he did for the first month after the breakup. He ghosted the closure conversation I'd begged for, just disappeared into her curated fantasy life, smiling for the camera while she posted things like, manifest your joy, grateful power couple. I wanted to scream, but screaming would have given her what she wanted. Proof I was unstable, that I couldn't handle pressure, that I was the problem. So I played quiet until the vandalism. Yeah, real, physical damage. It was subtle at first, files going missing from my desk, post-it notes that vanished. Then one Monday morning, I came in to find my locker at work wide open. My backup flash drive was gone, the one with my personal notes, some of my old college work, a few half-finished poems I hadn't even shown Jeremy. Nothing work-related, nothing that could benefit her, just mine. That's when I knew she wasn't just trying to outshine me. She was trying to erase me. The worst part? HR didn't take it seriously. Maybe you left it open, they said. No signs of forced entry, even when I showed them the missing items list. Even when I said I was worried it was targeted. They smiled that polite corporate smile and logged it as a disputed incident. Marissa brought in coffee for everyone the next day. She handed me mine with a too bright grin. Don't stress, bestie. I know things have been hard for you lately. My name wasn't even on the cup. She wrote her own initials on it. I poured it into the sink the second she turned around. I wasn't going to let her poison me. That night, I started digging into old emails, calendar invites, photo timestamps. I needed to prove something, anything, that I wasn't crazy. And that's when I found it, the smoking gun. A client proposal, one I'd worked on from scratch which I'd presented to our boss in confidence, time-stamped in my drafts folder, dated 3 weeks earlier, and a nearly identical version, file name and all, sent from Marissa's email 2 days ago. She was stealing my work now, passing it off as hers, and people were thanking her for it. I stared at the screen, my heart slamming in my chest. That was it. I knew exactly how I was going to burn this all down. She wanted the spotlight? Fine. I'd make sure she drowned in it. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my apartment floor with every light on, my laptop open, screenshots stacked, emails flagged, a physical notebook in my lap where I wrote one word over and over. Proof. Because if I was going to do this, I needed it airtight. No assumptions, no rumors, no she said. I wanted to bring down Marissa with the kind of truth you couldn't argue with, even if you tried to scream over it. And I wasn't just going after her at work. This had to be bigger. She had built her image like a castle, carefully filtered photos, fake vulnerability posts, stolen Pinterest quotes about rising above and healing through the hate. People believed in her brand. She was sweet, self-made, a survivor. Jeremy bought it. Our boss bought it. Even strangers on Instagram bought it. So I decided to give them all a behind-the-scenes tour. But first, I needed bait. We were both scheduled to present at the company's annual retreat, an overnight thing with execs, clients, and a bunch of mid-level managers we'd been dying to impress. It was held at this sleek eco-lodge outside Portland. Wood beams, big windows, mountain air, corporate soul-searching with charcuterie boards. Marissa was already planning her debut like it was a red carpet event. I heard her talking about it in the bathroom with 2 other girls from the team. I'm thinking emerald green, you know, to stand out. And I might open with a quote from Eat, Pray, Love, just to, set the tone. Barf. But it was perfect, because our presentations would be filmed, posted to the company portal, shared with partners, and I'd already made sure hers included something extra. I knew she'd try to present my proposal, the one she stole. So I left a version of it in our shared drive with just enough errors, tiny ones only I would notice, outdated stats, a client name misspelled in a footnote, a reference to a discontinued product. I marked the file final approved. She couldn't resist. I watched her download it the next day with this smug little click, like a kid grabbing the last cookie and thinking no one saw her. So I waited. The retreat rolled around. I wore all black, didn't smile, didn't try to network. I was done pretending. My coworkers probably thought I was just burned out. But Marissa? She looked radiant, like she was blooming under fluorescent lights. She even had the audacity to say, "Hope we both kill it out there, bestie," before her turn. She went first, and it was flawless at first. Her voice had that faux soft, just grateful to be here tone. Her PowerPoint sparkled. People nodded, clapped, looked inspired. Until slide 14. She read the client name out loud, said it confidently, except it was wrong. Wrong enough that our senior VP furrowed his brow. Then the product mention came, the one that no longer existed. A client rep in the audience actually raised her hand and said, "I'm sorry, are you referring to the 2021 version? That was discontinued last year." Marissa blinked, laughed. "Oh, I must have gotten a dated version." And that's when the VP asked, "Where exactly did this proposal originate?" Boom, silence. Marissa stammered. I developed it. In collaboration, I guess, with some input." Then the AV guy, God bless him, switched to my slides. I was next. I walked up, clicked to my title page. Same project, but mine? Polished. Correct. Detailed down to the decimal point. I even had a signed receipt in the appendix from the brainstorming session I ran, dated 3 weeks before hers. I ended with one sentence. Authenticity isn't just a buzzword, it's a baseline. And I sat down. The room didn't applaud right away, they just watched her, waiting. She was already shaking. She couldn't fake her way out of this one. She wanted the spotlight. Now she had it, and she was burning. Update 1. First of all, thank you. Genuinely. I wasn't planning to post this here, but some of y'all's comments have me laughing so hard I forgot how wrecked I felt last week. Shout out to the person who called Marissa a skinwalker in a Forever 21 suit. You win. Also, to the dozen of you who messaged asking if she keyed my car, hold that thought. Let's rewind. So after that retreat presentation where I basically exposed her entire act live on corporate stage, I figured the fallout would be slow, subtle, HR meetings, quiet distancing, standard passive-aggressive office drama. Nope, she imploded. That night at the lodge, I was sitting alone by the fire pit, sipping one of those overpriced canned cocktails, when she came stomping over in her emerald green blazer like the ghost of envy itself. Face red, eyes wild. "You planned that," she hissed. "You're a snake." I didn't even argue. Just looked at her and said, "You used my words, my data, my name, and still managed to screw it up." She started crying. Loud, chest heaving, mascara running sobs in front of our coworkers. And when one of the junior analysts walked by and asked if she was okay, she turned to him and shrieked, "Ask her! Ask the fucking puppet master!" I wish I was making this up. That's when it happened. Her moment of self-destruction. She tried to grab my drink out of my hand. I pulled back. She slapped it away. The can flew, splashed all over one of the senior partners who had just stepped outside. Guy was wearing a cream-colored linen shirt. The entire lodge went dead silent. I swear, time paused. And in that frozen moment, all I felt was this deep, bone-level clarity. She wasn't just unstable. She was done. Security escorted her to her room that night. She didn't show up for the second day of the retreat. HR called me in for a statement the following Monday. I gave them everything. Emails, timestamps, the screenshot of her downloading the bait file. I kept it calm, factual, surgical. No drama, no gloating. By Thursday, she was gone. Not on leave. Not transitioning. Gone. Fired. Blacklisted from client work. Every trace of her wiped from the company portal like she'd never existed. And Jeremy? He sent me a text that said, and I quote, "I didn't know it was that bad. I'm sorry." I didn't respond. Because if he didn't know, after all that, I don't want him now that he does. Anyway, I've been getting some DMS, asking if this is the end. It's not. Because what Marissa did after she got fired made all of this look like a dress rehearsal. She started showing up. Not at my work. That bridge was a smoldering crater, but everywhere else. First, it was the cafe 2 blocks from my apartment. I walked in for my regular oat milk latte, and there she was, sitting at the corner table in sunglasses indoors, sipping tea like she was mourning the concept of accountability. Our eyes locked. She didn't flinch. I turned and walked out. The next day, she was in the bookstore I go to every Sunday, standing in the self-help aisle, flipping through the four agreements like irony didn't apply to her. When she saw me, she smiled. This weird, detached kind of smile. Like we were in on a secret. Like we shared something no one else could understand. I didn't say a word, but it escalated. One night I came home and found a box on my doorstep. No name, no return address, just a simple brown box tied with ribbon. Inside, a cheap little bracelet I lost 3 years ago, the kind you only find at tourist traps. I'd worn it all summer during a beach trip Marissa hadn't even gone on. She must have found it in my old things when we were roommates for a few months in our early 20s. I didn't even know she still had it. There was a note, just one line. You're not special, you're just first. I remember standing in my hallway, every hair on my neck standing up, clutching that paper like it could bite. I filed a police report that night. They said it was weird, but not illegal. She hadn't threatened me, technically hadn't trespassed, just delivered a gift, but it got under my skin. That was the point. She was unraveling and trying to drag me with her. The next move? She started messaging my coworkers on LinkedIn, on Facebook. Some of them hadn't even interacted with her directly, but she'd pop up in their DMs like a ghost from an alternate timeline. One guy showed me a message she sent him at 3 a.m. Did you know she used to cry at her desk every day? That she sabotaged my relationship and lied about her ideas being original? She's not what you think. She even messaged my boss's wife, said we were in some kind of toxic rivalry, and that I'd orchestrated her firing out of jealousy. But the real kicker? She started a blog, a whole-ass blog, Recovering from Her. That was the title. It was full of these vaguely poetic, narcissistic posts about narcissistic betrayal and female career bullies. She never used my name, but the details were clear enough to anyone who knew us. I was the charismatic manipulator with a hidden mean streak. She was the trauma-informed empath trying to heal through creation. She was using my story, my heartbreak, my job, my stolen ideas, as content. At first I was furious, but then I read the comments. They weren't supportive. They were brutal. Women calling her out for weaponizing therapy language. One girl wrote, "This isn't healing, it's deflection in cursive font." Another said, "Are you sure you're not the villain here? Because this sounds like a Lifetime movie where I'm rooting for the other woman." I didn't comment. I didn't need to. Because while she was spiraling, I was planning the final nail in her glitter-covered coffin. I found her last lie, the one I hadn't even seen coming, and I was going to expose it in the most public, irreversible way possible. Her resume was fake. I'm not even kidding. After everything, the boyfriend, the job, the birthday, the imitation game she played with my entire personality, this was the lie that finally made my blood run cold. It started as a hunch. Someone from HR, off the record, reached out after her firing and said, "You might want to take a look at her application file. We're auditing everything now, and let's just say you're not the only thing she borrowed." I asked no questions. Just showed up at the office the next morning with a bagel in one hand and fire in my soul. They handed me a printed copy of her original resume and application packet. And sure enough, there it was. Clear as day. Lead marketing analyst, B&C Creative Agency, 2017 to 2020. Except B&C shut down in 2016. And that job? It was mine. Same title, same client list. She'd copied a chunk of my actual experience, changed the dates, added a few vague buzzwords like transformational synergy and cross-platform ideation, and passed it off as her own. She hadn't just taken my life after she entered it. She'd been copying me before I even noticed. It made me sick, but it also gave me the final piece I needed. Because that week, Marissa was booked as a guest speaker at a women's networking conference downtown. She'd pivoted, somehow, again, into personal branding consultancy and was now marketing herself as a cautionary tale-turned guru. The theme of the event? Authenticity in the age of digital noise. I almost laughed until I choked. So I bought a ticket, sat 3 rows back in a beige blazer and red lipstick, something she'd once told me washed me out. She walked on stage in cream silk and a $1,000 smile, opened with a story about overcoming competitive toxicity in the workplace, threw in a subtle jab about someone once trying to steal her light. And then I stood up, calmly, held up a printed copy of her resume. "Quick question," I said, voice steady enough to echo. "If you were working at B&C from 2017 to 2020, how come they shut down in 2016? You could have heard a pin drop, or her jaw hit the floor." The moderator tried to wave it off. "We'll do questions at the end," but I wasn't done. I also noticed this client list matches exactly with my portfolio from that same time. In fact, I flipped the page. You even copied the typo I made in one proposal. Word for word. Someone in the back actually gasped. Marissa's face, white, then red, then white again. She tried to speak, blubbered something about shared projects, collaborative environments, but the crowd wasn't buying it. One of the event organizers walked up and quietly, but firmly, asked her to step down. No yelling, no scene, just a slow, public unraveling, like watching a cake deflate. I left before the organizers made it official, but word spread fast. By the next morning, her Instagram had gone dark. Her blog was deleted, and the conference posted a statement about vetting speakers more thoroughly moving forward. Marissa didn't just lose the spotlight, she got exiled from it. I went home that night and finally, slept through the damn night. She wanted my life so badly, now she could live in the fallout. Update 2. So, apparently getting publicly humiliated twice wasn't enough for Marissa, because a few days after the conference meltdown, I got a message from a random burner Instagram account. No profile picture, no posts, just one DM. You didn't have to ruin everything. I was just trying to be like you. Isn't that what you always wanted? I didn't respond. Next day, a text from an unknown number. You think you won, but you're not better. You're just meaner. Still didn't respond. Then she escalated, because of course she did. She showed up at my mom's house. My mom called me, rattled, said some woman came to the door, makeup streaked, wearing a hoodie 3 sizes too big, asking for a moment to explain herself. She said we used to be like sisters, and that I'd ruined her life for sport. My mom, bless her, told her to leave before she called the cops. But here's where it really twisted. The next day, Jeremy reached out. I hadn't heard from him since his lukewarm, "I'm sorry" text after the work presentation fallout. This time, he called. No warning. "Hey, I just wanted to say I had no idea she was that unstable. She told me you'd gone off the rails, that you were stalking her. I didn't realize." I cut him off, calmly. "You believed her because it was easier, not because you didn't know better." There was a long silence. "I miss you," he said, "and I'm sorry I didn't protect you when I should have." I almost laughed. "Jeremy," I said, "you can't protect someone from a storm you're dancing in." He didn't call again. But then, the cherry on top, an email from Marissa. Subject line, "Closure." It was 4 paragraphs of chaotic self-justification. She claimed she was inspired beyond the limits of normal admiration, and that she never meant to become me. She just felt safer inside someone else's life than her own. She said I'd been her mirror, her goal, her guide. I stared at the screen for a long time. I didn't reply. I just dragged it to a folder I'd created weeks ago, receipts, because I'm not stupid, and I don't trust the calm before the storm. If there's one thing Marissa taught me, it's that some people don't want forgiveness. They want a reset button. I'm not her reset. I'm her reckoning. So yeah, I moved on. Got a new job, different city, better title. Most of my old coworkers reached out to apologize once everything came out. I didn't accept or reject it. I just let them sit in the silence they left me in for too long. As for Marissa, last I heard, she tried to relaunch under a new name, changed her bio, different hair color, a new Instagram full of vague wellness quotes and blurry sunsets. But the internet remembers. And so do I. You can only steal someone's identity for so long before the mask rots off your face. And when it does, everyone sees who you really are. You ever hear the sound of your own peace? It's weird. At first, you don't recognize it. It's just quiet. No fire in your gut. No buzzing in your head. No watching your back every time your phone lights up. Just you, your breath, and the feeling of not needing to explain yourself anymore. That's what I felt the day I deleted the folder named Receipts. It had been 6 weeks since Marissa's last attempt to claw her way back into my life. No new emails. No burner accounts. No cryptic DMs or surprise drop-ins. Just absence. Glorious, golden absence. I moved cities 2 weeks after the conference. My new job. Kind. Smart people. No drama. No Marissa-shaped shadows in the break room. I kept my old email account only for legal reasons, but otherwise I cut the cord. Even changed my number. Jeremy never tried again, which honestly surprised me. But maybe, on some level, he knew he'd only ever been a prop in a much bigger performance. And that's the thing that stayed with me. Marissa didn't just want love, or a job, or attention. She wanted applause. She wanted to be admired without doing the work. To be the center of every story without understanding the weight of carrying it. She wasn't chasing me. She was chasing what people gave me. Respect, trust, identity. And when she couldn't have it, she tried to become me. But she never learned the part that mattered most. You can't steal self-worth. You have to build it. So I let her fall, let her shatter her own reflection trying to fit into mine. And me, I started over, got a new apartment, bought a couch I actually liked, not one I thought would impress people, got bangs, regretted the bangs, grew them out, learned to make risotto without crying. And on my 31st birthday, I threw a party. My theme, my people. No clones, no costumes, just me, in a yellow dress, surrounded by laughter that wasn't borrowed or forced. And halfway through the night, I caught myself in the mirror. noticing something that stopped me cold. I looked free. Not happy, not glowing, not any of those Instagram words. Free. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I believed the version of me that looked back. Not the one Marissa tried to be. Not the one Jeremy half loved. Just the one who lived through it and still showed up. So yeah, maybe I didn't burn her life to the ground. She did that all on her own. I just handed her the mirror and walked away before the glass broke. I thought it was over. And for the most part, it was. But closure is a funny thing. People always talk about it like it's a door you close and never look back at. But sometimes it's not a slam. Sometimes it's a whisper, a soft click, a moment so quiet you almost miss it. Mine came at a grocery store. Whole Foods, of all places. I was in the flower section, holding a bunch of eucalyptus and trying to remember if I had any clean vases at home, when I heard someone behind me say my name. Not hey or excuse me or long time no see. Just my name. Flat, familiar. I turned, and there she was. Marissa, hair darker, no lashes, hoodie pulled tight, no camera-ready smile, just her, raw and weirdly small. She looked like a glitch, like someone hit pause in the middle of her story and forgot to hit play again. We stared at each other for a second, just long enough to register it was real, not a memory, not a dream, just two ghosts sharing the same aisle. Then she said the words I never thought I'd hear. I don't know who I am without you. There was no audience, no drama, no tears, just that. And for a second my chest ached. Not with sympathy, God no, but with something that felt older, like grief for a version of her that might have been real. Once, I nodded, just once. Then I said, that's not my problem anymore, and I walked away. Didn't look back. Didn't need to, because that was the real revenge, not the job or the boyfriend or the applause. It was this. I knew who I was. She still didn't. And no matter how many versions of me she tried on, none of them fit. Because the truth is, you can steal my ideas. You can steal my words. You can even steal my face for a while, but you'll never steal my becoming. That part, you have to earn. And Marissa, she never learned how. Thanks for coming on this ride with me, internet strangers. I didn't expect healing to look like this, but maybe this is what it means. Not forgetting, not forgiving, just reclaiming. Piece by piece, day by day, and maybe, just maybe, leaving someone else to chase a shadow they'll never catch.